What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the 182 News Podcast. This is your host, Poppin' Curbs, and today we are going to have some fun with an Ask Me Anything. This is going to be the 2023 AMA. I thought I did this last year, but it was actually 2 years ago since I've done one of these, which is wild. I never know how this is going to go, and I got a ton of questions. I actually had to cut this off. So as of about 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, I've got all the questions covered. If it comes in after that and I have an influx over the weekend or something, this may end up being a two-parter, but we're going to get to the first questions for sure today. I wanted to get a new pod out. I had a day off. I've been so busy lately, haven't had any time. I actually just got off of a vacation, which was much needed, super refreshing. And I was sitting here today and I'm thinking, okay, do I play Zelda? Do I play PS5? Or do I get a podcast out? And I was thinking, you know what? Let's get a podcast out. I want to get some creative juices flowing. So I posed the question earlier, ask me anything. And my one freebie is that my favorite flavor of candy is red. Yep, all the red candies are the best, and then usually the purples, and then the blues. So we're going to get into quite a few questions that were sent in. Really appreciate all the engagement on this. It just makes it fun, and it had my brain thinking earlier as I was going through these and jotting them down. I wanted to touch base on where we left off. So I think at that time, I had just got done going to a couple shows in Chicago. The first stretch had kicked off. I think we were hopeful that maybe a new song would drop and I'd have a emergency pod, but that is not the case. Since then, the second stretch of this North American tour has kicked off. We've got June 14th in Phoenix, they started, and then there was some sick Cali shows. There was like 2 in LA, 2 in San Diego. I saw so many people having fun at those. This is just a truly special time in Blinkland, and I just love seeing everybody's photos and all the meetups and everybody just being super stoked to go catch Blink. These shows are just insane. I want to hit on a couple things that have happened since then as far as newsworthy. The Hi, My Name is Mark zine. So I posted this on the Instagram when it was teased initially. This is really rad. Hi, My Name is Mark, Mark's website. He came out with just a little zine. It's kind of just a small, little magazine thing, if you're not familiar with what these are. And there were 500 initially. They were hand numbered and signed by Mark, and they sold out in like a minute. And they ended up doing another round, a second printing of 1,000 of those that came out, I want to say last week. Those sold out, and they're actually going to end up doing a third one. So don't pay eBay prices on these. People are scalping these like crazy, with crazy high markups. Don't support those folks. I think if you want one of these, you will end up getting one. But I want to mention it. I did an Instagram live opening up the first printing of this, and it's just a really cool artistic snapshot of kind of life through Mark's eyes the past couple years. And page 1, it's on the website. I'm not going to spoil much, but page 1 is literally the text to his doctor about, hey, I feel a lump on my neck. Do you need to see me? And it's just the following pages throughout the past couple years, through the pandemic and the streams, and there's little Easter eggs, a bunch of little things that if you pay attention to it, it's just a really neat little thing. I wanted to mention that, so check that out if you haven't. There will be a third printing coming, according to Mark, so don't pay a ton for it. And he even said he's going to sign them all. So to me, if you can get anything signed by any of these dudes for $15, I think that also plays a big part of why these are selling out instantly. It's pretty wild, and it's a rad little item for sure. Let's hit on Skiba just a little bit, because he's actually been in the news on my radar just a little bit lately. So out of nowhere came a side band of Skiba called Lectron. And most of you will know Adam Willard was actually a part of that. Adam played with Angels and Airwaves. He's played with The Offspring, Against Me. Really rad dude. I've always loved his drumming on those early Angels and Airwaves records. This is a 2-song EP that dropped, and I was just stoked to hear what Skiba's going to sound like, now that he's out of Blink, and what new stuff he would be working on. It's not crazy for him to have side projects. He's had quite a few throughout the years. One of my favorites is The Heavens, patent pending. Just a killer album. I swear I post it every year. You should check that out if you haven't. He's had The Secrets. I mean, Sideband Land is no surprise for Skiba, and these came out. The vinyl is coming out, I want to say early July. I pre-ordered it on Asian Man Records. There were two different versions of it. I pre-ordered that and a t-shirt, and I'm waiting for them to come out. But the songs dropped digitally. I was thinking maybe there'd be 5 songs, but there's actually just 2, and they rip. I think they're pretty sick. Now, to me, I do think they sound a little bit like Alkaline Trio. I had some folks reaching out to me like, this just sounds like Trio. Yeah, it definitely has Skiba written all over it, which I dig, but check that out if you haven't yet. And then speaking of Adam, Derek announced that he was stepping down from Alkaline Trio, their drummer for a long time. And I was kind of curious, like, okay, who's going to step in on drums? On one of their previous tours that Derek couldn't attend, they had a dude named Jared Alexander, who drums, I believe that's it. He drums for Skiba on his Secrets album. And I was thinking maybe it would be him, or maybe it's Adam. Maybe Adam fills in. And they announced last week it is Adam. His first show was a couple days ago with Trio at Wrigley Field, which is amazing. I can't even imagine seeing somebody like that at a baseball field that's that historic. It's really rad. So super stoked for all of them. And I listened to a podcast the other day with Dan, and he said that they're working on new stuff. So I think we'll get new Trio. I can't wait to hear what these 3 come up with sooner than later. But I had to mention it because a lot of folks were curious, what's Skiba up to? And when are we going to hear more from Alkaline Trio? And it does seem like, that train is going to get to moving pretty soon. So that's rad. The big thing as far as this pod, we don't have a new Blink song yet. I know a lot of folks were thinking maybe 6'2", I guess, based off of some graphic on like a toilet thing. We don't have that yet. I will hit on some of the album single talk here a little bit once we get into the AMA stuff. So let's go ahead and just switch gears into the 2023 Ask Me Anything, and we're going to kick it off with a question from Q182 from the Sticker Strat crew. He says, where does the name Poppin' Curbs come from? That's actually a good way to start this. I feel like some of you might know this if you've watched some of my Twitch streams. Poppin' Curbs. It comes from back in the day, I used to love riding my bikes. I had a dyno VFR with pegs, and I would do ramps and go on these little courses. And I wasn't a very good skateboarder, so some of my friends would skate, some of my friends would rollerblade. I would always be riding my bike. And poppin' curbs is when you pop a wheelie to get up on the sidewalk. So if you're crossing a street and you need to get back up on a curb, you pop a wheelie and you're on the curb and you're out of the way of cars. I'm in Indiana. We don't have bike lanes. So in order to get the fuck out of the way when cars were coming, you would need to be on the sidewalk. So all the time you would be popping curbs. And the way that I kind of came up with it was originally as a gamer tag. So I was huge into Halo back in the day, like Halo 2, Halo 3. I would play it competitively, and I was needing to create a new gamer tag. And I remember telling my old roommate I had a friend back in the day when we rode bikes. And I said, yeah, my buddy he couldn't even pop curbs. He would always have to wait until there was a driveway to get up onto the curb. And he just said so you're saying he couldn't even pop any curbs? And I'm like, yeah, he wasn't even popping curbs. He was using driveways. And that's where it came from. My buddy was just like, that would be a perfect gamer tag. And thus, popping curbs was born. And I kind of made a little bit of a name for myself, like in Halo 3 days or whatever, from a gamer tag perspective. And that's where it came from. And it just stuck whenever Twitter and Instagram and all that crap started. It's like, you know what? Let me just go by that. So that is the origin story of popping curbs. P-curbs. Okay, Rebel 182. When do you think we get a new single? How many do you think we get before the album? Okay, so this is what we needed to get into a little bit, so I'm glad she asked this question. So I saw a post pop up in my feed the other day, and it said, Blink-182 just proved that you can make an entire tour off of one single. And in my mind, I was actually thinking, they didn't even have to have that, to be honest. They could have had this massive tour exactly as it is without edging. In my opinion, I think it would have been just as successful. I think it would have been just as rad. Now, of course, we all want to hear new stuff and what these dudes can create. The album originally went up for pre-orders saying spring, summer. Well, I think it's officially summer as of a couple days ago, so it's not happening in spring. And the one little official, I guess, bit of news that I saw about the news was on Instagram, somebody was asking Travis, I think they were actually giving him shit, like, stop giving us these stupid updates and tell us when the album's coming. And Travis commented, October. So if you think about the timeline there, October, here we are in June, July's around the corner. If they're going to do one a month, July, August, September, October album, at the most, that would be 4. I personally don't even really want to see that many drop before the album. I mentioned this on a previous episode. I don't like when the whole album is out before the album's out, essentially. Like, I think Lifeforms, literally 8 of the 10 songs were out before the album even dropped. So part of me, and I know, slam me all you want, part of me is like, okay, the tour ends, I want to say July 16th-ish in Nashville. I'm actually supposed to go to that show. I mean, that's 3 weeks away. As much as we all want new Blink, I think we can probably wait 3 more weeks for another single. So at the most, I think we would get 3 or 4. I think they'd be fine just doing 1 or 2, to be honest. And let's get this album out in October and have a ton to listen to and a ton to talk about. So I think 1 is probably pretty soon, coming. It's got to be. Edging's been out a long time. But I'm also of the opinion where it's like, they could totally wrap up this second leg. I thought if they were going to drop one, it would be in this little gap, last week, or that 6/2 date or whatever would have worked out. And maybe that was the case and plans got changed. I don't know. That tends to happen. So who knows? I thought I was pretty confident. I thought that they would drop a new song in between and maybe one more song would get added to the set list. But it didn't. And at this point, I'm thinking they could totally wait, or, they could prove everybody wrong and drop one next week. Who knows? So we shall see. Time will tell, but gosh, October's right around the corner. So I'm fine waiting, maybe one new single, and we'll get the album in October, hopefully. Wits 182. Why does Mark like the Eagles? I feel like I knew the answer to this at one point, but my brain, without researching it, I feel like he just had to pick a team, and he just picked the Eagles, talking about NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now he's a Rams fan, though. Because Los Angeles got the team from St. Louis, he's definitely a Rams fan at this point. So I don't know if he still even pays attention to the Eagles at all, but I know the majority of his NFL fandom resides with the Los Angeles Rams. He also says, are they on good terms with Scott? I don't think any of them have talked to Scott in a long time. Good terms? I think they would be cordial if they ran into him on the street or something. But I just don't think it's not somebody that they're texting or talking to or in touch with. I'd be shocked if they had been in touch with him since 1998, to be honest. But I think if they ran into him, they would be cordial. I don't think there's any crazy beefs, at least on their side. TN Gunner, do you think Mark will do an episode of The Pod? Yeah, I think he would. Actually, we've had it scheduled a couple times and it's just fallen through the cracks. But yeah, I think he will when the time is right. I think they're not really doing any press right now, if you think about it, which is another crazy thing. When you think about this tour, it's like, man, this is a massive tour, tons of people, huge arenas, everybody's stoked. And they're kind of flying in, flying out, not doing press, not doing sound checks, meet and greets, anything like that. It's crazy how large scale this is. And really, they're able to kind of pop in shortly before the show, crush it, and bounce. So, yeah, I think when the time is right, I don't want to keep I don't like bugging anybody about the podcast. And if I'm going to talk to Mark, or if Mark and I have time to kick it, I feel like both of us would rather be playing video games. It's the problem. But I think someday it'll happen when the timing is right. We'll see. But I do like the suggestion about maybe sending in some superfan questions and just have Mark kind of roll through those. That's the problem. Even when I've been pretty close to, having a conversation with Mark for the pod, it's like, gosh, what do we talk about? I mentioned this on one of his streams at one point when we were playing a game. I'm like, dude, do we talk about a particular album, particular era? There's just so much to talk about. But yeah, I think it'll happen one day. Blink-182 bass project. You have a chance to pick any guitar or bass from Tom, Mark, and Skiba. Pick one from each. Tom, I'm going sticker strap. So of all of Tom's guitars, if I could grab one, I'm going with the sticker strat. For Mark, I'm probably going with Lettuce. I just think Lettuce is so iconic. He used it to record, my favorite album, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, He used it on Untitled. I mean, that's just a legendary axe. For Skiba, the one that I think of when I think of Skiba with Blink is that bright green with the blue pick guard. I'm just going to call it the Hero. I think that's the paint. There was a sticker on it that said that. So I would go with that one. Okay. Ryan Sims. Oh, my name's Ryan. He spells his RYN. I like that. I like that. As a vinyl collector, what's a good special variant that I would suggest that's rare but obtainable? So with Blink vinyl, I mean, it can really get out of control. They have so many releases. It's really hard to have like a full variant collection. It's a very slippery slope. I don't have a full variant collection. I have a ton and I pick up pretty much every new one that drops, but some of these are super expensive, very hard to find. But I will say, rare but obtainable. If I had to pick two, I think you gotta get that Cheshire Cat Red Eyes variant. It's their first 12-inch, 1996. It's just such a sick kind of OG Blink vinyl. They're going up in price a little bit, but I think if you save up some money, set some aside, and if this is your thing, shell out $300 for it. That's probably about the going rate. I think I've seen $300 to $400 is kind of what they're going for. I think you got to get one of those. If not, I also think that California signed, it was a pre-order, but the signed purple variant was the majority of them. And I think that's super rad as well because it was the first time that the band had released like a signed vinyl. And for me, that was really special. I think on that California artwork, it's the black version with silver signatures. It's really sick. So I think you could pick up one of those a little bit more affordable, but you really got to get that Red Eyes, in my opinion. If you're truly hardcore collecting Blink, I think you just start there and then start filling in the gaps, really. Punkish Dad, if Blink had a deep cuts only set, what would your top 5 be? This is where the definition of deep cuts is kind of difficult because they just have so many good songs. And a lot of these that are, deep cuts on a set list today actually were singles back in the day, and they just don't even come close to making a set list post Enema. So, because of that, I'm going to define deep as just kind of not on the set list today, probably wouldn't be close to making it. But you would definitely argue with me on some of these, whether or not they're truly deep. So one in particular, Wasting Time. I mean, that was a single big song, but it's not going to be on the set list these days. I would totally pick Wasting Time, Pathetic, Every Time I Look for You, Stockholm Syndrome. And I would love to just bring Skiba out for one song and let that man wail No Heart to Speak of. That is a deeper cut from 9. We'll probably never ever see it live, hear it live. But God, I would love to hear that. And, he would probably blow his vocal cords out. So maybe just bringing him out for one song would be the ideal scenario. Who knows? A band called Frick, corduroys or overalls? Corduroys. I don't think I've ever worn overalls since I was about 4. They also asked, how bad do you want to hear the Dude Ranch demos? I've not heard them. I don't know. Of course, I'd like to hear them. I mean, who wouldn't? But I will say when it comes to some of the demos and, some of the just rips from concerts and some of that stuff, it's just not really my jam. Like, I'm just not the type that's like, yeah, let's hear this super shitty recording that the band doesn't want you to hear. I like hearing how the songs have evolved. When Tom dropped that demo versions of like the Dreamwalker, it was cool to hear how the songs evolved and some of the differences in the lyrics and even choruses and such. So from that aspect, it's rad, but I'm not the type that's like trading bootlegs and like, oh my gosh, I found a new video cam recording of this show in 1999 and you can barely hear any of it, and it's terrible quality. Like, it's just not my jam. So yeah, of course I'd want to hear them, but I don't lose any sleep over it. Paul Tarangelo. Is that a Ninja Turtle reference? Top 3 Travis drum parts. I really like when he has like the gnarly intros that are essentially like hooks on their own. It's just drum riffs on their own. I really like Feeling This, Bored to Death, Hearts All Gone there's some drumming on that I think he just absolutely crushes. So those are three that come to mind off the top of my head, which are super rad. Casey in Space. In alternate universe, what is your ideal Blink lineup? No current or former members allowed. Whew. This is difficult. I would say, well, shit, Jesus. I was going to say maybe Jordan from Newfound Glory in Tom's place, but he doesn't play guitar. I'd have to make him a 4-piece. I would say like probably Jordan as far as like Tom's replacement. It's tough to think of a bassist that's like that good at bass and also that brilliant of a songwriter when it comes to melodies and lyrics and such. I'd probably have to pick like Dan from Alkaline Trio to replace Mark. Drums, my gut would say like a Brooks Wackerman or somebody who could just play for anybody. But technically he filled in for Travis in Australia, so I don't know if that voids the entry here. I'd say Adam. Let's get Adam on drums and just everything will completely come full circle. That'd be rad. And then guitarist, I'll get Pat Kennedy from No Pressure up in there. He's got some riffage. Okay, let's see. David Parkey. Favorite Jimmy Eat World album and or song? I think my favorite album is Futures, mostly because my favorite song by them is Kill. And I just love like in that bridge on that song, like I just can't turn off the way I feel. Like that part right there, just man, it gives me goosebumps every time. He also asks, do I think the Dodgers will make the playoffs? I don't know if they're going to win the division. I do think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they'll have a good enough record when it's all said and done. Blink-182 Mexico, and David asked this as well. Favorite Mark bass line? These are so tough because there's so many good ones. My gut says Carousel. It's tough to beat that intro on bass. And if you play bass or even try to play bass, I'm not great at bass, but learning that is just really fun. Mutt is a great one that comes to mind. And then Man Overboard is just another one that I just love when that song kicks off. So that's gonna be the answers today, I think. A-Rod Padre 619. Heard you found a Travis drumhead frame. Actually, I didn't, shockingly. So I found some from Michaels. Basically, when I need to look for a frame for any signed item or like any rad piece of memorabilia, it's either Hobby Lobby or Michaels. And for some of the smaller ones, like the California signed drumhead that a lot of folks have, and one of the smaller ones that I got from Travis's website, I did find a shadow box that would fit those. And those are either 10-inch or 12-inch, and I kind of had to rig it. I think I have pictures on the Instagram where you could see it. I basically slapped a bunch of stickers on the back to make it look rad, and I basically just put a pin, and I have it hanging on a pin on the inside. However, some of these huge ones I have, I'm looking at an Angels and Airwaves one behind me. You may have seen that actually in the reel I posted earlier. And then the Travis one that's usually in the background of my YouTube videos. It's so big, I could not find one. And so a lot of folks had said, just put a fucking nail on the wall and hang it, you coward. And I did that. And I kind of wanted to test it out, and I was all worried, like, oh my gosh, I don't want this to drop and ruin my little drum head. It's been fine. So I did that actually to 3 of them, and knock wood, they have not fallen and broken, which is great. So on a couple of them, I literally just used like one of those colorful tacks, and I angled it upward just a tad, and it's hanging by the brim of the drum head. And on one of them, I also have a nail. I did find there are some shadow boxes, custom shadow boxes, but I did not want to pay $300 or $400 for those, because even if you start to rule out the cost, those things are such a pain in the ass to hang on the wall. You got to hit a stud. Just not fun. So I didn't want to go that route. So I would say at the end of the day, if you're worried about it, plop in a nail, throw up a tack, and you'll be all right. Second part of this. Favorite tour merch item. I am a sucker for a good hoodie, and even more so, a good zip up. And I know you had mentioned you love the black zip up with the world on the back. That is my favorite merch item as well from this tour. Picked it up, shrunk it. It's perfect, fits perfect. Nice warm zip up hoodie. I am always in a hoodie. I am always cold. So that's the favorite one. Behind that, as far as t-shirts go, I really like that one with the Skankin' Rabbit in the UFO. I think that's my favorite t-shirt by far. Matt Rose, 182. Most spent on a piece of memorabilia. I'm embarrassed to say. Thousands, for sure. I don't even want to say the price and what it is. I'm embarrassed. Most valuable piece, I would say Tom's guitar has to be. I mean, I've already had folks messaging me like crazy about that, trying to buy it and with some crazy high offers and such. So that's probably it. If it's not that, it's probably Buddha, the tape. If it's not that, it's probably the 21 Days tape. So let's see. Next page. Got a lot here. This is great. I didn't know if there were going to be 5 or 55. So let's keep it rolling. D Sun here. Most favorite Hi, My Name is Mark clothing or product? I will give 2 actually. So the first one I like as far as product goes, they're actually kind of combined, but there were basically bass strings that Robert had saved on the Enema of the State 20th anniversary tour. And I actually told Mark, I'm like, dude, you've got to have Brian save these for this upcoming tour, this tour that's happening right now, because I mean, this is just a really cool collectible. And basically they paired that with a hand screened shirt that Mark did, and it was kind of a combined bundle for charity. And so those 2 alone, for those reasons, are truly special to me. So as far as the clothing goes, the piece of clothing, it would be that hand-screened Mark Hoppus shirt. I mean, he literally made those in his kitchen. There were 100 of them. And as far as the product goes, it would be that little bass string that came. It came in like a little card backing, kind of like what the pins come with. And it's just a truly special little piece of Mark or Blink memorabilia, which I'm all about. So I think that's rad. I think the zine he just did, honestly, is killer. It's just really an emotional read and viewing. Check that out. And then I think my third favorite is probably the Jen bass guitar pin. Just because of how special that bass is and how much it means to me and a lot of friends with the Easter eggs on there and such. So, okay. Hi, my name is Trace. What is your most meaningful piece of sports memorabilia? Love this question. I have a pretty large sports collection, although a lot of it's just kind of tucked away. It's a lot of signed baseballs. And what I found throughout the years is those actually kind of bleed and the signatures fade away. And it's really not the best thing in the world to get signed, to be honest. I would say my favorite item in my sports collection, I was a big Dodgers fan for several years, and I went to Cincinnati and I saw them play the Reds. So where I'm at, I basically have to go to St. Louis or Cincinnati to catch baseball games. And I ran into one of my favorite players after the game, just at a bar. Just afterwards, we were just like, my dad and I just went to go grab a drink after the game, and I look across and there's my favorite player, and there's a dude named Justin Turner. A lot of you may know who he is, plays for the Red Sox now, but longtime Dodger, one of my favorites at the time. And I was kind of scared to go up and talk to him. I just don't like fucking bothering people. I just don't. And I actually offered through our waitress to buy him a drink. I said, next time you go over there, she was serving both of us. I said, tell him his next drink is on me, because he's my favorite player and I just appreciate how he plays the game. He's not one that was just blessed with, freakishly athletic ability or body. He was one that truly had to bust his ass and just work hard to become the third baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers and treated fans and everybody the right way. And I just really appreciated how he kind of went about himself. And the waitress went over there and told him, and he said, no, he said, you go tell him he comes over here for his next drink on me. And so I go over there, and it's just him and his now wife, and we just start talking. And he said, are you going to the game tomorrow? And I said, yep. And he said, where are you going to be at? And I said, I got seats right behind the dugout. And he said, holler at me after the game. I'm like, all right. So they play the game, scorcher. It's so fucking hot in the summer here in the Midwest. And after the game, he's walking down the tunnel. They just shook hands. They won. And as he's walking down, I said, Justin, I yelled at him. And he looked up at me and he said, 1 second. He goes down and he grabs his bat. And if you know baseball or baseball memorabilia, these dudes don't give up their bats very often. It's a very, very kind of rare item to get straight from a player. You know, they'll toss you a ball or something like that, or maybe a batting glove, but they don't like to give up their bats. And especially if they're not broken, a lot of them, they're kind of weird about their bats, and especially when they've been hitting well with. So anyways, he comes back up and he's holding his bat and he says, do you have a Sharpie? I'm like, yeah, I was always strapped with a Sharpie back then, trying to get rad autographs from players and such. And I toss him my Sharpie and he signs the bat and he just hands it to me. And then he just walks underneath the tunnel. And I'm just in shock. And there's like Dodgers fans. I mean, Dodgers fans travel pretty well. There was just a ton of Dodgers fans around me that were just like, holy fuck, dude, he just gave you his bat. And I was just so stoked. I was on cloud nine. And what's crazy is I went and I looked the day before because I wanted to photo match it. This actually kind of ties into my conversation with Joey when it comes to authenticating bass guitars off of the wood grains and such. And I wanted to go back and see, like, oh my gosh, did he use this? When did he use it? Can I find a photo of him using it? It would be really rad. And the day before, I found a sick photo of it. And he hit a home run with that bat the day before. And I've got a beautiful picture of it. You can totally see the pine tar and everything. It's just perfect. So that is really a special piece to me. It's one that I would never give up. So yeah, thanks for that question. That's really rad. Chicken Wang, Holy Grail Blink item. To me, like if I had to pick one Blink item that would be the absolute Holy Grail, to me it would probably be a full band signed Fly Swatter. I don't think any exist. I've never seen any. They were just so young then. I mean, they weren't signing their own little tapes at that point. I've actually, if it's not that, it would be probably a full band signed Buddha cassette. I feel like one of those has to exist in some capacity, but I've never seen one. I've seen a couple signed by Mark and Tom. I've seen a couple just signed by Scott. None from back in the day. These were, more recent signatures or whatever. But I would think maybe one of those truly signed in that time period would be sick. And even just a full band signed short bus from that time period would be so killer. And I've never seen one. I truly don't know if they exist, which is wild. But yeah, anything to me like those super old school 93, 94 signed in that time period to me would be like the Holy Grail. Maddie on right. Thoughts on the possibilities of UAPs, UFOs, and aliens existing, and how did Tom's research influence this? That's a cool question. I will say, I'm not the type that just sits around, looking up and thinking about extraterrestrial, beings and such. But I will say that Tom's research with To the Stars and the way that they've kind of been putting out products and books and interesting with the Unidentified series and things like that, it really has made me ponder and think about things a little bit differently. Do I think there are aliens? I don't know, probably. I've always been of the opinion that it's kind of selfish of us to think that we're the only beings in the whole world. You look up and in the grand scheme of things, we're merely just like the smallest ant. And it's kind of selfish of me to think that we are the only intelligent beings in this entire universe. So I've always kind of been of the opinion of there's probably other species or something out there. Who knows? It's a big fucking universe. We don't know anything about it. I mean, I learn stuff every day about shit that's here. I don't know anything about shit that's here on Earth, much less the universe. I was watching a Kiss documentary the other day and I'm like, oh my God, Paul Stanley doesn't have an ear or didn't. That's wild. So yeah, I feel like there's probably a lot going on. But To the Stars, when they kicked off in 2014, I was following them so hardcore and supporting them. And I love those Secret Machines books. the Unidentified series. And what Tom's research and everything really did for me is it made me think about stuff differently, and that maybe it's not even just aliens. You know, you think of UFO and everybody thinks of a big green goblin coming down in a flying saucer, and that's not necessarily the case. So it opened my eyes to, no, there's just shit in the air that we don't know what it is. And they basically got the government to admit that. And I've always found it so funny because really, and I'll give Tom credit where credit is due. Like, I do think because of them and kind of pushing the envelope and making this a little bit more mainstream, you know, we've seen that on CNN. I've seen that when I turn on the news, they're now talking about this. And I do think Tom and To the Stars had something to do with that, you know, with some of their content that they were putting out. But I think from like a military perspective is where for me it's fucking crazy. It's like, okay, yeah, we have, you know, some of the most like veteran Air Force pilots saying, yeah, there was a tic tac shaped object and it just flew right by and we have no explanation for what this is. You know, why wouldn't that be terrifying? Like, if you're the government or the Secretary of Defense and there's video proof of crap flying around at crazy speeds, starting, stopping, we have no explanation. You got the most brilliant minds in the world, experts in these fields saying, we have no fucking clue what that is. We do not possess the technology to do that. Yeah, that's a little eye-opening to me. And I love like when those Senate hearings and all that shit was happening, how like the front page of CNN was like, what's Beyonce up to? And I'm like, they just admitted that there's shit flying in our atmosphere that we have no fucking explanation for. You know, even if you think it's another country, you should be terrified, much less like technology that is literally out of this world. So yeah, I think Tom's research definitely had an influence on me as far as like how I think about some of that stuff. I truly don't know if it's green beings that come down here and they want to get in your butt and do whatever. But yeah, I think it's kind of silly to be, you know, so small-minded that we're the only people right here and it's the only thing happening. And I'll also say some of his stuff about like consciousness really makes you think about things a little differently. I even liked just, you know, thinking about like Poet Anderson and that world of where when you go to sleep, is that an alternate reality? When you're dreaming, is that a different version of yourself? You know, it's trippy to think about. So at minimum, I will say that To the Stars and a lot of the stuff that Tom has done and put out and continues to put out has made me just think a little differently. And, you know, I think that's a good exercise for anybody here. Okay, Steve is the miner. Why are you so handsome? I can't tell if you were being facetious, but I will say it is a strict diet of sprees at night and bottled water throughout the day. I don't know. Okay, Liam _CFC. One song from Nine, one song from Dogs Eating Dogs on a set list. What would you want to hear? I'm trying to be realistic about this. You know, they're not going to play super deep cuts off of either of these. I don't think they're going to play anything from either of these, to be honest. I would say First Time from Nine. I think that's a banger that would go over well live. From Dogs Eating Dogs, I'd like to hear the title track, which they've played live before, and it's a banger. Got a feeling, I got a feeling. Gabex, favorite Blink moment not on stage. That's tough for me. I don't know. There's nothing in particular that's coming to mind. You know, I like seeing like some of their fan interactions on the side or when they're just out doing good things. I'll say when Mark volunteered to pass out the vaccine. I thought that was rad. Let's go with that. Chicken wing. Again, is there a double chicken wing? Let's see. Favorite merch item from any band? I like this question. This is one where I think every band should do this. One of my favorite items I've seen in recent years is Neck Deep, one of my favorite bands. They were basically signing a used drum head, and also I think it's Matt West who does most of the art, but one of the band members was doing rad art on it, and they sell it at merch. And I think every band should do that. I think there's a fine line between making it like crazy expensive. You don't want to just give it away. It needs to be a premium item, but I think it's a great way for bands to make merch. They've got to start thinking about more of the collectible side of things. In my opinion, yeah, t-shirts are probably the easy route. Maybe I'm crazy and the profit margins are just, so much better on those. I don't know. I'm not an expert merch guy by any means, but I love when I go see a band and there's just a rad little collectible there. So Neck Deep, I bought one of those. I've seen New Found Glory do that. I think bands should sell signed posters. I think they should sell signed vinyl, signed CDs. I think you're crazy if you don't. I think you're just leaving money on the table. Now, of course, when you get to the level that Blink is at, you don't necessarily have to do that. Maybe you don't want to. I know a lot of bands think that it's not right to charge for autographs and such, but if there's a market there, that's my thing. It's like, I would gladly pay all of Blink to sign all of my shit, but they don't necessarily want to charge for autographs, but they're also not readily available. There's no meet and greet, so it's tough. So in that sense, like, I'd love to just buy a signed drumhead or a signed poster. So for small bands in particular, I think if you throw up a rad drumhead at a reasonable price, you might get a bite. Okay, let's see. JDest88, Dream Tour lineup. So this is tough. If I had to choose, three? We're going with three bands. Let's go right now. I would probably go with No Pressure, Neck Deep, and Blink. We got close to that a couple years ago. I mean, I saw Neck Deep open for Blink. If not one of them, or if this was like Poppins Festival, I would throw New Found Glory in there. I would throw Alkaline Trio in there. I think that would be killer. But yeah, I would love to see all of those bands somehow in one day. That would be sick. Let's see, D-Wash. You can listen to 3 Blink songs for the rest of your life. What are you listening to? This is kind of tough because, you don't want to listen to a depressing song forever. I would probably go with Damn It. I would go with What's My Age Again, and I would go with Wasting Time. Those are 3 songs that for me, they stand the test of time. I can listen to them over and over and over on repeat, and I'll have a good old time. Joshi Ramone, favorite cover by Blink? Probably Another Girl, Another Planet, which was done. It's on the greatest hits. It's for Travis's show, Meet the Barkers. I like that one. Outside of Blink, I will say I'm not the biggest fan of covers in the world, even my own. I just don't like them that much. But, in some instances, I think they're rad. And, this is a good example. Another Girl, Another Planet. I think Blink's version slays the original. But, fans of that band may say otherwise. Who knows? Rough Cuts and Hard Luck. F, Marry, Kill, Mark, Tom, Travis. I don't want to do any of those to any of them. Let's go with let's switch it up. Let's do breakfast, lunch, dinner with Mark, Tom, or Travis. Breakfast, I'll go with Mark. I think Mark's the early bird of the group would be my guess. Let's go have a nice coffee. Lunch, we'll do that with Tom. We'll get into some UAP stuff. Have a nice little chat. And then I think Travis is probably the night owl. So let's go to Crossroads for a nice little dinner. Go back to Travis's studio, and I guarantee you he probably stays up till 2 a.m. working with some rad artists for sure. Tiny Yet Mighty. Mark's basses. Pick your favorite Music Man, Jazz, Jag, and P-Bass for extra credit. So my favorite Music Man would be the black one. The black Music Man typically played live 94 through 97-ish. That would be the one for me. Jazz, I'm going Lettuce, as mentioned earlier. Just you think about the albums that were recorded with that, just unreal. Jaguar, I'm going to go with Gin. It's Gin or Crayola, but, Gin, again, due to the kind of Easter eggs that I'm somewhat a part of. And P-Bass for extra credit, I would just go with the one he recorded Cheshire Cat with. His first P-Bass, that black one. I think that's the jam. Yad Blah Blah Blah. Favorite neighborhood song? Hearts All Gone. I think Hearts All Gone is the banger. But, I think I mentioned on the last pod that Up All Night was a really big highlight for me at that recent Blink show. And I still love that song. Definitely in my top 3 on neighborhoods, no doubt about it. Zach D83. What's one thing today that if I told myself 5 years ago, I wouldn't believe? I like this. It's a hypothetical a little bit. Um, I probably just be shocked that I have a Blink 182 podcast that anybody listens to. When I first started this, I remember thinking, no one is going to listen to this. Why would anybody want to listen to this? And here we are, several years later. Even when I don't get podcast out, like literally the downloads are crazier last week than they ever are. Even when I feel like I'm not even active on it and don't even have time to fuck with it. So yeah, it would probably be that. That would definitely be a big one. Alan Corona, my man, the bass making extraordinaire. If I could have any of Mark's basses, which one and why? Well, here's the thing. I really would like gin, but I also love the idea of gin being played around the world and shared with folks throughout. Um, it's funny because I kind of feel bad. Like the Tom guitar I have, one of his Les Pauls, I almost feel bad that I have it and it's just sitting in my room. In fact, I mentioned the other day, I might see if I can loan that or donate that to the Punk Rock Museum, just because I want people to enjoy some of this stuff. So I would say I love gin, but I want everybody to enjoy gin while it's out. So if I had to pick, probably lettuce. Lettuce is tucked away safely right now. It's pretty beat up. It's definitely seen better days, but you think about the albums that were recorded with that. Good Lord. I think I would grab lettuce. That would be the jam. I gotta get a bass from Mark, or just something rad. Okay, let's see. S.E. Smith 182, favorite Tom song. This is always interesting. This would actually be a good topic in general. Maybe breaking down like my top 5 Mark songs. I think I did Skiba at one point. It's tough. I will say off the top of my head, the one that just keeps coming to my mind is Wishing Well. I just think that's a beautiful song. Let's go with that today. Nico Pero, 182. If given the chance to play on stage, what song would you play and on what instrument? Well, this one's kind of a bummer for me. I actually can't. I haven't been able to play much guitar lately. My hands are really fucking with me. I've went and seen a specialist multiple times. I think it's like carpal tunnel or arthritis, combination of both, who knows. But anyways, if I play much guitar anymore, my hands are just fucked, which sucks. So honestly, I don't even think I'd be able to play anything. I would butcher it even if I could. So, maybe hand me a guitar and turn the volume off and I'll just play along to the track. That might be rad, but I think I would probably want to be up there for Damn It. And if I had to pick a role, let me do the No Scrubs bridge, or I watched a Nirvana documentary not too long ago, and in some of their footage overseas, I believe, they found some guy over there that they just let kind of dance on stage with them throughout the set. Just random long-haired dude, no shirt, and he would just dance the whole fucking set in the middle. Maybe just let me be that dude for Damn It. Just get up there and jump up and down and skank around a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Probably Damn It. I'd like to just be on there at the end or something. Captain Dean. Actual gear items, guitar, bass, drum kit that you would want and display if I had to pick. So one of each. So guitar, if I had to pick, it would be the sticker Strat. This kind of ties in actually with one of the questions that I think we hit on earlier. The sticker Strat would be the one that I would probably want. If I could pick any, that would be the one. And I know it's never going to happen. And in fact, Thomas said that I think that's like the one guitar that's definitely never leaving his hands. For basses, I just alluded to it a little bit ago, probably Lettuce, but I haven't talked about the drum kit. Actually, when it comes to drums, I would probably pick that clear green one from the Plus 44 days. I loved that kit that Travis used to play 06, 07-ish with Plus 44. So that would actually be the one that I would prefer. Mad Beards. This is Joey. You can only see one era of Blink for the rest of your life. Which one would it be? And so he kind of broke these down into essentially like the Scott era, Cheshire Cat, Dude Ranch, Enema, and Mark, Tom, and Travis show. So 99, 2000, Takeoff, Pop Disaster, Untitled, Reunion, Neighborhood/Dogs Eating Dogs. I consider that a little era. Skiba era, and then the reunion. That's funny. I haven't called it that yet. That's funny. The reunion. For the rest of my life, this is tough because if I had to pick one that I could see as a one-off, it would of course be Cheshire and Dude Ranch because that's the era of Blink that I did not catch live. I would have loved to have been able to say, yeah, I've seen every iteration of Blink and all their side bands and everything. But if I had to go with forever, I'd probably pick that Take Off Your Pants and Jacket era with Pop Disaster. I mean, you start thinking about some of the bands they were playing with there and, New Found Glory and Green Day. I think those would be some killer years to just relive over and over and over. That would probably be the one. Okay, Nightmare on Wax. We're getting down to the last few. I didn't know how long this was going to take, and this is a good solid hour. I think we'll be in good shape. Nightmare on Wax. You're starting a Blink cover band. What is the name? I don't know why this came to mind, but I'm going with the Dysentery Garys. That's the only thing I could think of. I would never be able to be in a Blink cover band. Like I said, literally wouldn't be able to keep up or play. And I just don't think I would want to do it. Sean Lamers. What do I know about Tom's Seafoam Fender re-releases? You're asking me things I can't talk about, my friend. You're asking me things I cannot comment on, but I will say, typically when there is smoke, there is fire. Or at least somebody vaping. We'll have to talk about that when the time comes. That happens. People ask me stuff all the time, and, sometimes I'm privy to a little bit of information. Sometimes I'm not, but I don't know. We'll see. Also, how are you? Thank you for asking. Good question there. I'm okay. I feel all right. I'm off of a refreshing family vacation, much needed. Been crazy busy past couple weeks. And gosh, I tell you, when you've got two little ones, it's two little ones. It's just, life just seems like chaos. Like I'm trying to appreciate it and take the little moments in, but yeah, it can be stressful. And there's times where, you look down and it's 9:30 at night before you have a second to breathe or do anything you want to do. And then you're tired and you go to sleep and you gotta wake up and go to work and do everything the next day. So yeah, all things considered though, I'm feeling pretty good, trying to get my hands figured out. And I'm feeling refreshed. So it's all good. Matt R22, you can travel back in time to get any merch at retail. When would you go to and why? I would probably go, it would have to be 93 and get a free copy of Fly Swatter. I would be a friend of the band in 1993 and they would say, here you go, listen to our crappy little demo that we recorded in Scott's bedroom. And I would love it. And it would be $0. And today it would be so rare and rad. If not, I think it'd be awesome to go back to Soma and get Buddha for $5 at a show for sure. 1994 would be super sick. So, okay, that is all of the AMA 2023. Maybe this is just part one. I'll have to see how many comments I got when I'm done editing this. But hope you enjoyed it. Hope we get to chat sooner than later. Maybe a new song, maybe some more information on the album. I am planning on going to a show next month, so I'll probably be able to report back on that. In the meantime, always love hearing from you. So if you ever have any questions, concerns, topics you want me to hit on, that would be rad. Let me know, and we'll talk soon. Peace.